session, so to speak, to match your needs and match your comments. So with that, I'm just going to come back to the default landing page of Fidelity. Notice I'm not even logged in. It does prompt me to log in right here. But if you come here to Accounts and Trade, Active Trader Pro, notice that there's no little lock symbol, so you don't actually have to be logged in to view this page. This is the landing page to learn more information on Fidelity.com about Active Trader Pro. Now, they have just recently redesigned this page. I know because it no longer has the big bold phone number on here for the Active Trader Services Group. The Active Trader Service Group is different than an Active Trader Pro support group. They're not the technology support group for that. Now, the phone number for Active Trader Services is going to be 877-907-4429. An additional number, this is the number that was on here before, is 800-544-0211. Again, the number is 800-544-0211. Now, while they're not technical support for Active Trader, my colleagues in Active Trader Services Group do live and breathe this platform, and so they can most likely answer most questions you might have. They're also very, very good when it comes to margin, trading, restrictions, getting options trades placed and such. Please feel free to reach out to them and give them a phone call. Now, the one thing about Active Trader Pro I want to mention to everyone is, of course, Active Trader Pro is a downloadable platform. You do need to download it and install it on your computer. No, we do not currently offer a web-based Active Trader Pro. About the closest we get is if you come to Accounts and Trade, the trading dashboard. It's a really, really good advancement compared to what we used to have just on Active Trader Pro, on Fidelity.com. You can actually start to get some streaming quotes on the trading dashboard, where beforehand that was the sole realm of Active Trader Pro. So you do have to download and install Active Trader Pro. Once you do that, and I minimize this here, you'll see it will put an icon on your desktop. You just want to double click that particular icon. Now, when this pops up, it will ask for your Fidelity username and password. That is normal. That is okay. If you have two-factor authentication enabled, it will also two-factor authenticate you. So it'll ask you to use the push notification on your cell phone, your mobile device, to say, yes, this was me, to actually log in or to get that particular code. So that is normal. It's a separate login than the website. A lot of traders don't realize that you don't even have to be logged on the website, just logged in with Active Trader Pro, and that is okay. Now, we get a lot of questions on, what about Macintosh? This does work. There is a version for both Mac OS and Windows. We click Download Active Trader Pro. This is where you want to go to download Active Trader Pro, this big green button. We have the 64-bit for PC, the 64-bit for Mac. Unfortunately, at this time, it is not offered on Unix, Linux, Ubuntu, any of those other kinds of operating systems. It's only Windows, only Macintosh. To my knowledge, there are no plans in the future to offer it on Linux. So unfortunately, if you do have a Linux operating system, you will have to dual boot and boot up a Windows shell to be able to run Active Trader Pro. Now, that said, Macintosh. Right now, Active Trader Pro isn't natively designed for Macintosh. In essence, it's a PC version that's run in a Windows PowerShell, so you are dual booting both a Mac OS and a Windows OS on your Macintosh machine. So it does run a little slower. It is a little bit clunkier because it doesn't have that native feel like a native design app. Now, that said, I have been told they are currently working on a new generation of Active Trader Pro, a new program that's completely redesigned on the back-end architecture. And I know that they're starting to roll some of it out to clients now. We'll be keeping this older version of Active Trader Pro for quite a bit of time. We'll have both platforms available for quite a bit of time. But the new version of our active trading platform is natively designed in Macintosh. And so there is no dual booting. And so it will wind up running quite a bit smoother, quite a bit faster than the old version because it is actually running natively in Mac OS. Now, that said, let me shift this back over. When you double click on the icon, this is the window that pops up. Enter your username, enter your password, and once you do that, you're going to get a blank screen, which is okay, which is normal. Now, before I pull up over that blank screen, I do want to walk everyone through some other things on this particular web page. One of the big things you have to keep in mind is, there are some minimum system requirements the ActiveTrader Pro has. I do know, for example, it has a little bit of a memory requirement. And I ran into this to myself where my computer didn't have enough memory, didn't have the recommended. This used to be like 2 gigs and 4 gigs and then 8 gigs. I remember at the time this had a minimum recommendation of 4 gigs and my machine only had 2 gigs. And it was very noticeable. It kind of ran a little slow with that because it's trying to run all the other programs at the same time as ActiveTrader Pro. And so if you don't meet these minimum memory requirements, if you have a slower internet connection, you might notice a little bit of a slower operating speed than what you might be expecting. Now, one thing kind of on this that I'll talk with a lot of traders about. I've worked with a lot of very, very, very active traders. I've worked with traders that have just placed 1 or 2 trades a month. I've worked with traders that placed 1 or 200 trades a month. They'll literally place maybe even 5 to 10,000 trades a year on that. Now, if you're the type of trader that do trade very, very actively, from that particular standpoint, you remember, Fidelity used to charge commissions. Even $5 a trade. If you're placing 1,000 trades a month, $5 a trade, what's 5,000 in commissions? Well, that said, some traders I've worked with, well, they're using a 10-year-old computer and having really big slowness issues with ActiveTrader Pro that could be worth it to have a newer, inexpensive laptop or desktop that's $300 to $500 or something like that. That's to run a program if you're trading hundreds of times. It's kind of the cost of doing business, just like in the past, how traders wouldn't blink at paying $5 a trade. What's can be the cost of doing business on that? And I've worked with traders that still pay way more than that each month in margin interest to trade. And it could be a beneficial to have a higher speed computer to actually run a trading platform. So with that, lots and lots and lots of information on here. I'm just going to bring over the ActiveTrader Pro window now and kind of show everyone what it looks like when it is blank. And so let me move this over real quick. This is what it will look like. It's gray, it's blank. That's okay. Think about this being an empty canvas painting on here. You don't start to paint and expect to see everything on the canvas painting all at once, other in your mind. This is a blank canvas. From here is where you start to add tools. You start to draw on your blank canvas to create what you need and what you want. Now, with that said, Troy, I've been speaking for quite a bit of time, kind of introducing everything. I know you've been very, very active in the background, kind of answering some of those questions that people have had. With that, though, Troy, why don't you kind of walk everyone through some of the basics of setting up a layout, or maybe taking everyone through the ActiveTrader Pro setup to kind of give everyone an introduction to ActiveTrader Pro.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. And certainly good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Again, depending on what time zone you're joining us from. ActiveTrader Pro, again, it's this additional tool. Perhaps some of you have been trading a lot in Fidelity.com. Maybe you've already been using ActiveTrader Pro. The main thing we want to highlight is, again, it's very personable. It's very customizable, depending on how active you are, depending on your trading experience, your preferences. ActiveTrader Pro is very user-friendly, and it can be, again, customized to offer a variety of different tools and resource. The main draws, if you ask yourself, okay, well, why do I use ActiveTrader Pro, or why do some clients prefer ActiveTrader Pro? Again, it's going to be the unique, charting capabilities. It's going to be some of the shortcuts, some of the customization, the real-time data, real-time analytics, some of the option trading tools. So today we're going to, again, just discuss the layouts and all the different kind of ways we can adjust and set up our Active Trader Pro. And we'll talk about a couple different, display kind of considerations. And then week 2, we'll talk about, again, the orders, all the different ways we could place, monitor our orders. Week 3, we'll talk about the advanced charting. And then week 4, we've got the options tools. So let's jump right in. Again, we're looking at a blank canvas here. And just as Nick pointed out, when you first pull up Active Trader Pro, you likely won't see a blank canvas. You'll probably see one of these preloaded layouts that come with the platform. So for example, I'm going to click on this layouts tab. And again, your unique layout, depending on when you download it, what's in there, you might have something like this. You might have a lot of different tools that are up. So it might look something like this, and you might be scratching your head thinking, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. What am I really looking at? And again, all a layout is a layout is just the organization of all the different tools that you have open with an Active Trader Pro. Think of it like a box of different browsers almost, sort of like when you're opening different browser tabs on your computer. So for example, this is a chart tool, and you can see I can move it, I can pull it around, I can resize it. That's one tool. I have a news flow tool where I can see some of the headlines that are crossing the tape, so to speak, there. I have a quote box. So we're going to talk about all these different types of tools. But again, what we're trying to really get at today is that you get to customize what you're seeing. You are the commander or the captain of your own ship, so to speak. You are the artist. You get to paint and create your own unique canvas here. So again, yours could look something like this when you first open it up. You could be looking at some of these other preset layouts. And again, there's so many different tools depending on if your goal of Active Trader Pro is, hey, I want to monitor my positions more. I want to trade a little bit faster, smoother, easier, or I want to, again, place more complex orders with ease or do some charting. Again, Active Trader Pro really offers something for everyone. You don't have to use it. You can certainly, there's lots of tools on fidelity.com. But again, our kind of goal is to make sure you're getting the most out of your experience here at Fidelity. So let's go back. We have a saved blank layout. So I'm going to go to a blank layout here. And now I'm going to go up here to where it says help. And again, you don't have to do this, but this is a good kind of tour guide type of experience in terms of seeing how does Active Trader Pro work. So let's click here, Active Trader Pro Setup. If I go ahead and click there, it's going to say, hey, there's some default layouts. Would you like to use one of these, or would you like to set up your own custom layout? I took a moment and I showed you some of the preset ones. Maybe you like some of the preset ones and you want to kind of stick with that for now. Maybe you want to customize your own experience from the get-go. So if that's the case, let's go ahead and click on the custom layout. We're going to click this, and now it's going to ask us what type of tools do you want to be on your canvas? What kind of picture do you want to paint here? And this is going to, again, go back to what are you looking to get out of Active Trader Pro? So maybe we want a chart. Let's go ahead and add a chart. I'm going to hit click to add. And you'll notice it just loaded a blank chart. Now we have to tell it what ticker symbol are we looking at, and we have to specify more. But now it's just showing us one chart. Do we want a second chart? Do we want a third chart? Do we want to compare different securities? We could do that. I'm going to scroll up here. I'm going to put in orders. Maybe we want to view and monitor what kind of orders we have that are either open, working, canceled, etc. So I'm going to click that. And now I'm going to say a quote tool. Maybe I want to see in real time the quote of a stock or a security. I'm going to click quote. Let's go down here. I'm going to go to my positions page. Let me take a look here. I should have a positions window, orders, news, account summary, history, conditional trade, close positions, balances, multi-trade, option summary. I'm going to actually go to option summary. I'm going to click on that. So just for example, you can see now we have several different tools open, right? The option summary is just looking at our positions if we have options. We can edit that. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes here. So let's go next. Now that we have next, it's going to say, okay, well, how zoomed in or zoomed out do we want to be? Let's look at some extremes. If I zoom in, what happens? You can see my canvas got a little bit smaller. These words got a little bit bigger. If I zoom out, my canvas gets much bigger, but these words get really, really small. So again, you're going to pick something that's going to fit what you're looking to do. A lot of times, again, just from my experience here, that second notch, the second to first notch from right to left is going to be, I think, a pretty good sweet spot for most people. But again, you can adjust that based on your preference. We use the white theme because it's got really nice, bright contrast. I will say for my own personal trading, I actually like the black theme. I think it looks cooler, softer on the eyes. It's not as bright. Some people like the blue. Maybe that's, again, a little bit more trendy. Maybe that's a little bit more calming. I've heard kind of, anecdotal stories about blue is a very calming color. So maybe you want to be calm when you're doing your trading. So again, just to illustrate, make sure everybody can see nicely from home, we're going to use white. And then do you want to set up a default account? How many accounts do you have at Fidelity? Maybe you've got accounts in a couple other places and maybe you want to consolidate them into one place. If you have one account, well, there's not much choice. You only have one account. If you have, say, a retirement account, a brokerage account, maybe you have a joint account, a cash management account, maybe you're authorized in somebody else's account, you might only do your trading in one account. It would make sense to have a specific account defaulted. So when you place a trade, it's already going to say, we know you're trading your brokerage account, but if you're going to trade multiple accounts, a better idea, and again, you have to choose what works for you. You might want to select no default account so that when you're about to place a trade, you have to tell it, hey, this is a trade for my brokerage account, for my IRA, for my joint account. I'll be honest, I have a couple different accounts at Fidelity's. I've accidentally placed a wrong account, a wrong trade in the wrong account. And, if it's something small, if you handle it quickly, it's no big deal, but it can be an
Done that
issue.
too.
Yeah, so don't do that. Avoid that issue. But again, ask yourself, do I want to have a default account? Again, it's not too much slower if you say no default, just so it gives you the added step of you have to specify one account. That might be a good kind of self-check method. So
Li-
go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, a little bit of words from experience on here. Personally, in my AccuTrader Pro, I do have a default account, but I don't have a default account for trading. So you see where it has one account for other tools. We have some tools like our profit and loss calculator in AccuTrader Pro, like our positions page, they'll pull up an account by default. So I do have an account set up where if I want to pull up my positions page, it pulls up a specific account by default on that. But as far as for trading goes, when you place a trade, the trade ticket, just like on Fidelity.com, it'll fill in an account by default. I leave that blank because I've one too many times, placed a trade in my retirement account that I meant to be in my brokerage account, or vice versa, and it can be a pain to have the trade moved over, or especially if you do it and you catch it like 3 days later. Well, if it's 3 days later and you call in, they're just going to tell you, well, close out and then open up what you meant to place. They won't be able to fix it for you. And so I started uh, just leaving it as no default account for trading. So yes, it's one more step that I got to take to fill out a trade ticket, but that's my process. With our test account, for example, we just have one account. We don't trade in multiple accounts. So for our test account, it makes sense to leave it up there. Or if you're only trading in your non-retirement brokerage account and you're just leaving, setting it and forgetting it in your retirement account, it could make sense to have a preset account. But for me, I actively trade in my IRA, I actively trade in my individual account, I actively trade in a joint account I have with my spouse, etc. So it just makes it easier for me personally to not set a default account than to accidentally place a trade in the wrong account.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. So that's good. good experience there in terms of just making sure, again, you never want to place the wrong trade in the wrong account. So again, all of these you can change later. So don't think that just because you're going through the screen, if you later say, oh, I want the blue background, or I do want to change my default account, it can always be updated later. So no worries in terms of if you click the wrong one, or if you already hit next and you say, I might want to change my mind later. So that can be changed at any time. So in this setup, again, this is kind of like a guide. You can hover over each of these tools, and it's going to tell you an important thing about Active Trader Pro that we're going to show you as well. So at any time, we can open up a new tool. We initially told it, here's a couple tools I might want for my layout, but you can go into these tabs up here, and we're going to show that later, and you can always open up new tools later. You can always close a tool. You can also resize a tool, and we'll show that in a minute here, how you can set up, resize. They're all these little mini windows within Active Trader Pro. You can minimize a tool and then access it later under Tools and Use. So you'll see at the bottom right hand of my screen, I have Tools and Use. I'll show that in a moment too. And again, you can always click and drag and move your different tools that you have open within Active Trader Pro. So there's a couple different videos you can watch. Again, if you're struggling or you're having questions about specific topics, there's a number of these that you can view in the Learning Center. So make sure to take full advantage of that if you need the additional support there. So I'm going to click Finish. Now, what you'll see is, again, the tools weren't organized. It kind of it's splattered. It's thrown onto our canvas. So now it's up to us. How do we want to rearrange these? So for example, first tool, I'm going to use, just for illustrative purposes, I'm going to use SPY, and this is a chart. Maybe I want to put my chart over here. So I just clicked and dragged my chart. Maybe I want to monitor what positions I have over on the bottom here. And actually, I'm going to resize it, and I'm going to put it to the bottom right, actually. So I'm going to go to the corner here, click Resize. And now I'm going to view what orders I have. My orders is a little bit large here. So I'm going to shrink that down. There's a little quote box behind it. So I'm going to move that, and I'm going to bring my orders down. And you can see we don't have any active orders working right now. I also have a quote. Now, maybe I want to make my quote this size. I'm going to also get a quote for maybe Apple on the side here. Notice too, in addition to this, and I was actually showing this, I believe earlier, is you could, if you want to see a quote for a specific stock, if you just want to see, for example, is it up or down today? You can go into this tool, the bottom left, where it says ticker, and you can edit your custom ticker list. So if I click on that, if I wanted to instead see Apple at the bottom here, I think we were showing this earlier. If I type in Apple, hit enter, and then hit apply, you can see I have a number of different indexes maybe that I want to watch. At a quick glance, I can see, hey, are equities or markets up, down, sideways, mixed? And you can see I have a quote for Apple. Again, it just tells us Apple, last trade, is it up or down based on the previous close? If I want more information here, that quote box is going to give me more information. Now, I can expand some of these tools and fill in the empty space, or maybe I want to put an extra tool here for this extra gray space that I have. We don't have a lot of orders, so this tool really isn't doing much for us, but if we were placing more trades, perhaps we would see more orders. We'll talk more about the trading aspect next week, but I'm going to just open up a trading tool, and I'm going to put that right here. And certain tools you'll see, for example, they can be resized. Some of them have a minimum size. So for example, this specific tool cannot be resized. It has a kind of a unique attribute in that respect there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to resize my quote, and I'm going to take my orders, and I'm going to resize that and then drag it down. So now I'm filling in all this empty space. And you can see here at a quick glance, I can place a trade if I'm monitoring a chart here on SPY. I could type in SPY. I could place a buy or sell order. I could change if I had a limit versus a market order, and I could send it very quickly. I could then see it being worked. I can monitor another position of interest. I can see some of my accounts, some of my positions, see if I'm up and down on the day. So again, at a very quick glance, we can really personalize what kind of experience we want to see on Active Trader Pro. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on a specific tool because we're going to, again, in the next coming weeks, we're going to show specific tools. You'll want to explore some of these tools on your own. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, just because we have a layout, there could be some other tools that are behind certain tools. For example, if I click that positions tool that I just pulled, it's actually behind these tools. We can't see it. So again, that tools in use, I have option summary, just my positions in terms of option positions. So it was there all along. It was just hiding. Let me show this specific tool in a little bit more detail. I'm going to minimize some of these other tools to direct everyone's attention. I'm going to make it bigger here. So this tool we can access under accounts, and you can see I'm looking at options by underlying. It also has positions, option by strategy, option by expiration. And so again, these are all the same tool. They're just different ways of showing us our accounts. So I can click here and I can do the same thing. I just want to see my positions. Well, what do I have in my account? Okay, this can all be personalized. I can drag, drop, adjust columns. I can right click, go to, normally for most tools, not every tool has this, we can right click, go to settings. We can also right click, go to help, where it'll give us kind of this Active Trader Pro manual. But on this specific tool, it's unique where there's a little tool or a little button right here that says manage. I can click manage. I can add or remove columns. So if I can click this, and it's going to give us a whole list of different columns that we can use. You'll see here, it's a very, very long list. And again, it's going to depend on what type of trader are you? What do you want to look at? What's going to be useful? We can click and check a box. That's going to tell us, okay, we want to see this, this column. And then from here, these are the active columns we're currently viewing. We can click and we can hit up, down to rearrange and resort them. I'm going to hit cancel, and we can also manually do this right here. I'm seeing I have the description, Bank of America. I have a little notebook icon if we want to add notes for our trades. Hey, I was looking at this price level. As long as it stays above here, I want to stay long. If it goes down, I want to manage risk at this level, or whatever note you want to add. But again, I'm seeing the last price it traded, its nominal change on the day, its percentage change on the day. Maybe I want percentage change right here. I just reordered them. Maybe I want to resize one of them. I can do that as well. Maybe I don't want to see this trade armor column here. I can right click and I can say remove column. I totally just got rid of it. Maybe I want this day's range. Maybe I'm more interested in that. So let me click and drag and bring it up here. So now I see the percent change, the nominal change, the bid, the ask, the volume on the day, and its day's range. At a quick glance, I can see Bank of America is down 1.3%, 52 cents a share. It's trading about 10 million shares, and it's towards the lower end of its range on the day. Quick glance, I can tell you a little bit about what's happening on a specific position that's in my portfolio. That could be very useful. And again, this is that monitoring aspect. So you can monitor the real-time tick by tick change on just about any security there. This is going to be for stocks, ETFs, options. There was a question earlier about, hey, could we do fixed income trading or some of these other tradings? We'll talk about that more next week. But for example, in some of these tools, you'll see this little link here. And what that really means is it's going to take us back to fidelity.com, because we can actually use fidelity.com within Active Trader Pro. We could have a separate window. We could have, our Microsoft Edge, our Google Chrome open as a separate tab. We can also, you'll see here, fidelity.com. I could open up a fidelity.com tab, and you can see this is an internet browser, but it's within my Active Trader Pro. Now, again, it's going to be stylistic preference, or in terms of if it slows down your Active Trader Pro, you could keep that open. Or again, you could have a separate Chrome window, Microsoft Edge window. So just keep that in mind. Nick, the positions tool is a big part of kind of that monitoring aspect. Again, next week we're going to talk about orders, trading. We'll talk about charting in week 3, and week 4 we'll talk about options. Anything else you want to kind of go over in terms of layouts, in terms of talking about the position tool? What are some of your thoughts there?
There's so much we can talk about this with the position tool. I think it'd be great if we took a deeper dive into actually customizing the position tool and such. I know you did such a great job actually addressing and talking about saving layouts. One of the biggest things I want to wrap up with, kind of put a bow on the layouts, is just kind of regarding getting your layout saved and pulling up and opening up a save layout. And then we'll jump over, we'll start to talk about positions. One of the big things I like to mention when it comes to saving your layout, go to settings in general. No, we do have this auto save layout button. Now, my personal preference is the not to save layout changes or to prompt to save layout changes. And I equate this to if you spend all this time, cleaning your room, making your bed, having all the clothes off the floor and such, you have all your knickknacks on your dresser drawers just the way that you like them so they look real nice, and you save that. Well, if you then have it automatically save any changes, then imagine you get out of bed, you throw all your pillows on the floor, you walk out of your room, you come back, your bed's still a mess. Or if you have it to don't save layout changes, well, then you get out of bed, you throw your pillows on the floor, you walk out of your room, you close the door, you open the door, everything's made pristine, just like how you saved it. So from that particular perspective, I prefer not to save layout changes. That way, if I do make a change, I can then specifically say, save the change. That way, if I have everything set up like I like it and I then move things around, I pull up new windows, it doesn't then have all that. I don't have to recreate the wheel every time. So with that, if you notice here, I did bring up a new layout. I do like to keep, a blank layout is one thing I keep saved. So I have this clean canvas each time. Now we do have some other save layouts. I can come down to, market monitor, for example. And with this market monitor layout, if I change things, I'm looking at this chart and, I make this chart bigger. It doesn't keep it that way. So let me do this to make it bigger. Now with this, if I had it saved, well, then every time it came in, this would be messed up. Where if I have it to prompt, I can come back here, market monitor, and I can restore last save if I so desire. And so maybe I delete this quote box real quick. So now it's different. Market monitor, restore last save, and it's like shutting the door in your room, opening it back up, and then boom, it's just like how you saved it before. So with that, I'm just going to bring back up the blank layout. If you've done a lot to this layout, you then want to save it to something else, it's easy to come here and go save as, and you can save it as blank too, save it as homework, etc. But there's a lot of different things you can do to customize that. Let me go ahead. I'm going to start over here with accounts and trade and such. And I know Troy covered some of these things I do want to mention. We're going to be spending most of the rest of the time today under accounts. Trade and orders, we'll talk about week 2. We'll talk a little bit about quotes and watch list today as well. Options, this will be week 4. Charting, week 3, and so on. So you kind of go across here. You can see a lot of the things Active Trader Pro can do. So here, accounts, and then positions. There's a lot, of course, that you can do to customize this. You can move these columns around. Just think of it like an Excel spreadsheet. You want this last trade over on the left, we can click, drag, and now it's over on the left. We can click, drag, move it back. Maybe we don't want to see this change percent number. We just want to see change. We can right click, remove column. Oof, it's gone. You can also right click, add column. Boom. So right back, add it on. These other columns, we can also make them narrower, or we can make them wider. One of my favorite things with this is if we kind of mouse over this, we double click, just like in Excel, it makes it just as wide as it needs to be and no wider. So mouse over, double click, just as wide as it needs to be and such. This particular account, it does have stock in it, does have options in it, does have foreign currencies. You can actually come over and you can click manage, show, hide security types, or we can say, don't show these foreign cash positions. You have GBP, hit apply. Now our pounds and everything has gone away. We can also come here, show hide, and our cash core positions, we can eliminate those. We can also eliminate stocks if you want to, or mutual funds or options positions. So it just has what we want to see on this particular display. Now I'm going to kind of make this a little bit smaller, like this. Drag it all the way down here to the bottom. And this kind of starts to get into some of the customization that we can do of creating a layout. One last other thing I want to mention with the layout is we can click here to manage, add, remove columns. And here we can quickly add a bunch of columns, remove a bunch of columns, change the order on this particular tool. And this is great if we're doing it initially. If we're just wanting to move around one particular column, do some small changes, that's where just drag and drop here and work real well. Now we'll come up to quotes. Pull up quote. And this again is building on what Troy was showing us. Kind of using the space we have here. I'm going to type in, we'll type in MSFT Microsoft, the largest company by market cap in the S&P 500 currently. Now, of course, by default, it's only going to show so much. There's a lot more you can see if you drag this taller. Notice kind of snap down to the tool there. All these things are also customizable. Last trade size, if we don't want to see that, we can right click and we can remove field. We can also add fields. We want to see what the IV 30, 60, 90 is, historic volatility, float, and such, industry. I'm going to add in the equity summary score. You can see equity summary score is 7.5 bullish. We can adjust these so this is where we want it to be, higher or lower and such with this. Now, one interesting thing I like to show on this is it does also show shortable shares. Let me scroll down a little bit. And they can see short position and shortable shares. So this, naturally Microsoft should be fairly easy to borrow. There should be quite a few shares shortable, but if it's hard to borrow, we'll go to Tesla, another company that's, the top 10 in the NASDAQ and such. And we can see additional information here. So still say call Fidelity. If anybody has a hard to borrow security in their portfolio, let us know. We can pull it up here. This will then show sometimes, hey, there's only, 100,000 shares available to be short. If there's a hard to borrow rate, this will show the information right here within Active Trader Pro as well. So we were asked if we could show streaming quotes. You notice this is streaming. This is updating live in real time. You look down here, this BAC volume, this is showing updating live in real time. Now, if it's being a little bit of a data hog, you can come here to general and settings, and you can change this from streaming to maybe only update every 2 seconds, every 5 seconds and such. Frequently when we're presenting, we'll have this auto update once every 5 seconds. That way it doesn't use as much data to update things. If you notice, that price stopped updating, multiple times a second and only update once every 5 seconds. Now, that can be an advantage Sheila asked if we could use Cisco, so CSCO on here. Scroll down, controllable shares, and such with this. Something else I want to mention from the positions perspective. I'm going to come here. I'm going to add a chart. I'm going to add a blank chart. We'll talk about some of these other customized charts that we have. Let's kind of snap that into place. Snap that into place this way. Now, from here, I'm going to link these tools. I'm going to link them to Gray specifically. Now, what does linking tools do? What does it mean? You notice they both say SPX now. Well, if we change it to CSCO, you change one, you change both of them. That's what linking tools means. And if we had them linked to gray, linked to blue, linked to purple, it would combine those tools. Anytime one is changed, they both get changed. But the advantage of linking to gray is now when I come here, Bank of America, double click. You might not have noticed, but I double clicked here. Well, now these tools, it changed to what I double clicked on. C for Citigroup, double click. Change both these tools. Come down, Siri, double click. It updated both of those two tools and such. And this could be really advantageous, especially if you're going through a watch list to then check every one with maybe some of the technical analysis that you've done, these pre-built charts that you've done to have it display. With that, I'm just going to shift this over like this a little bit. We'll come up here to news and research. News. Here's a little bit of a news tool. We'll pop this over here on the left. And again, this is a great kind of starter layout for those that are just wanting to monitor your portfolio or monitor the broader market. Snap this right here. And we can also link this to gray as well. So now, as we pop this up, Bank of America, and now news on Bank of America and such. If we like this particular layout, we can actually come here to layouts, save as, and I'm just going to say homework 2. We'll save that. And now we haven't overwritten our blank layout, but we now have a brand new layout up here that's labeled homework 2. And such, we see that right there. So a lot of really good information here that's kind of at our fingertips with all this. So that said, a couple other things I want to show from this positions page aspect. This built-in window right here, what does show positions, this is the same tool that it will show your watch list as well. So if we click on positions, we can come here, see closed positions and such. You can see options by underlying, balances, history on this one particular account. We can click on the account, and now we can actually go to watch list. One watch list we have are the top 10 securities in the S&P 500. So I just clicked on that, and now this has loaded this for us with just, of course, the symbols we have here. You don't recognize the names here, we can come here, right click, add column, and then go to description. And now we have a description. Let's drag this over here like this. We'll go up. We'll make this column a little bit narrower with the double click. Make this one a little bit wider. Looks like it's already fit that, but we can now see, well, MSFT is Microsoft, Apple is, AAPL is Apple, NVIDIA, and so on with this. Double click on this, and it pops this up. We can, of course, utilizing that, we can change things on our watch list. Over here to manage, edit watch list. And with this editing our watch list, we can say, notice I put in here, 100 shares at 419 a share. And this can be a way we can paper trade within this. While this does show change percent, as we scroll over, there's now a quantity, a purchase price, a today's gain and loss. This today's gain and loss, of course, is going to assume that we already had it, that we didn't purchase it an hour ago. But it's going to say this is our up and down amount based on if we bought shares yesterday or a week ago, what our today's gain and loss will be. And then it'll have a total gain and loss on here. And then you, of course, see on this watch list our today and our total gain and loss. This is going to be very similar to what your positions page will show. So this is a great way if you want to kind of paper trade stocks. You can say, well, I would have bought XYZ number of shares at ABC price. You can do that in and kind of keep track of what your gains and losses would have been if you'd had actually placed those particular trades. So with that, Troy, I know I've kind of gone over quite a bit of material. Anything else that you might want to elaborate on when it comes to our positions page or balances, history, and such?
So we have a couple more minutes here, Nick, but again, the big picture takeaway is really we want to, again, all this can be customized. If you're following at home and this is a little bit overwhelming for you, take some time to play with some of these tools in your own time, resize some of these tools, adjust it, edit it. Do you like it better? Does it look better for you in certain places? Do you maybe want to stick with a couple tools? I often, the feedback we kind of tend to get is if you have too many tools open, it can seem overwhelming because there's a lot of things flashing on your screen. For later on is if you're a trader that's looking at a lot of stuff, maybe you want to see a lot of things in different places, but it might benefit you to kind of stick with a couple different tools when you're first starting out with Active Trader Pro. And so the most common tools are going to be, your positions tab or a positions tool, a chart, maybe a quote box. Nick, I see here you have a news flow tool and you're seeing the news flow on Microsoft and SPY. That might be all you need for a little bit just to start. But then later on, you might say, okay, well, I want to see an options chain, or I want to see, again, I might want to have two charts to compare different things. I might want to play with different indicators on my chart. So there's really so many things. The thing too is make sure you play with, again, that tools in use. Make sure you're familiar with, clicking that periodically. Sometimes you have tools that are minimized or that are behind other tools. And so if you're finding yourself, scratching your head thinking, okay, my Active Trader Pro is getting kind of slow, you might have like 15 or, 10 tools pulled up that you're not using. Make sure you close those if you're not using it, because the platform is pulling all that data and it can slow down your device and your application. So make sure you only have what you want to use pulled up. Sounds kind of, intuitive, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes I've actually, done it before. But Nick, as you're showing there, again, on the upper, middle part of our screen where it says layouts, once we have a layout we like, it's so important and it's worth repeating. We need to hover over. You see homework 2 is checked. That's just the layout that we have selected. There's a little arrow there. You can, either hover over it or click it and you'll see save. Make sure you save your work. Make sure you don't spend an hour setting up your perfect layout. And if you close and you don't save it, it's not going to be there next time. And by the way, you might want to have multiple layouts. You totally can do that. You might have your monitoring layout. Hey, let me wake up in the morning after the market opens. Let me have my monitoring layout. I'll see my positions. I'll see a couple quote boxes, some news. That might be exactly how you want to start your day. After you've been monitoring things for a while, you might have a trading layout. I tend to use maybe 1 or 2 layouts. I don't like to kind of keep changing my screen. I like to view a couple things, but I'll pull up different tools. I might throughout the day, pull up a tool, close it. There's also, I think that's worth showing, Nick, in the upper right where it says settings. There's, and again, I think you covered this already, but I think it's just worth re-mentioning. Under general, on the bottom left or the bottom part, it's going to show you'll show there the streaming. We can slow down our data if we need to, but the auto save layouts, make sure it's set up the way you like it. If you make a bunch of changes to your layout and you leave and you want it to automatically save for you, it can automatically do that. Just keep in mind, if one day are playing with some different tools, how you close it, it's going to be that same way when you come back. So it kind of makes it like a sandbox where you go, you build a sandcastle, and then when you come back, that sandcastle's still going to be there. Whereas you might have kind of your set layout and you might want it not to save. So, hey, I'll do some changes, but I want it to kind of stay the same every time I come back. So make sure you don't have the auto saved, or maybe you want it to manually ask you every time. That can be annoying where you'll get a little pop-up, hey, did you want to save your layout before you close? It'll ask you that. There might be sometimes the answer is no, maybe sometimes, hey, yeah, I did a lot of analysis today. I wanted to save my layout so that when I come back tomorrow, it's going to look the same as where it was today. There might be some days, again, you pull up a tool, you pull up an option chain, you look at a couple quotes, and I don't need those when I come back next time. So you might not want it to save. But there's two things in Active Trader Pro, two predominant things we got to save. We got to save our layouts and we got to save our charts. And we'll talk about charts in week 3. So save your canvas, your layout, your orientation of all your different tools. And then if you make changes to your chart, Nick, right now you have just a plain candlestick chart. Again, in week 3, we'll talk about indicators, we'll talk about resizing, different time frames, different chart types. If you make changes to that, you have to save your chart
Yeah,
specifically. So I think that's basically the thing to kind of drive home there. Any other? I know we're coming up at time, Nick. Any other last minute thoughts in terms of
sure.
saving layouts? Anything else?
Couple quick points I want to make because we had some questions came in on this, specifically on the notebook tool, the notebook column. First is you'll want to be sure that you scroll over far right-hand side to look at all the different things that will show up because, for example, I'll frequently go, well, I want to see earnings when the earnings date is, and I'll go right-click, add column, and I don't see earnings on here. Well, the reason why I don't see earnings on here is because as you scroll over, it was already a column for earnings date. It was already on there, and you just have to then drag it over and move it to where you want to see. That happens quite a bit where there's some hidden columns that I'm not used to seeing because I got to scroll over that I don't realize they're already being displayed. The other thing about this tool, particularly with the notebook, is if you don't see it scrolling over and you don't see it trying to add it, I have heard that they're looking to sunset this particular tool. Just lack of use, etc. So there are a lot of places where this tool might have been in the past. It might not be in the future. If you've added notes on a particular thing, you should still have access to those notes that you had. But I have heard that they're looking to sunset this. And so if you haven't been using it, you don't see it scrolling over, you don't see it as a new column to add, it's probably because it's been sunsetted and they're not offering that anymore. So hopefully it helps answer a couple of questions that we got on that particular tool. I know Alfred, you also asked about streaming quotes. Kind of showed that earlier. Settings, general, streaming. We've left it on 5 seconds auto update versus purely being streaming. Hopefully helps answer that as well. And linking to Gray. Anywhere we can type in a symbol, there should be a little link tool. Looks like 2 little chain links with that. You click on that, you can break a link or have it specifically linked. And then the Gray tools by default, that's what means where I can sit here and I can double click on Citigroup and then it loads quote box, chart, news. Everything I've linked will automatically show that. With paper trading, again, the way traders will paper trade is they'll have a watch list that they have created. Go to quotes and watch list. This will bring up a new watch list, and we can, from here, edit watch list. And this is where I was saying by editing this watch list, we can go here and we can say, well, I would have bought, some Apple, AAPL. I would have bought it at 190 a share. and I bought 50 shares of Apple at 190 share. And then it apply. And now it adds in that Apple, it adds in that information. You can kind of paper trade. You can then see, well, if we bought 50 shares of Apple at 190, whether it was yesterday or a month ago, our gain loss today would have been this, our total gain loss would have been that, and it'll start to show in displayed information. And if you close it out, so to speak, you're going, well, I would have closed out at this price. Well, you have to keep on paper on an Excel spreadsheet what your old trades would have been, but you could simply come here and go delete, removed off, apply, and then Apple is then removed off of that particular watch list. So that's one. There's a couple different ways you can kind of paper trade with an AccuTrader Pro. There's another way that's really great for options traders within our profit loss tool. We'll be covering that on week 4. So with that, Mark asked about some of the preset layouts. Those are down here, layouts, and then these down here are the preset ones. Everything above this line, those are ones that you might have saved on here. If you've changed some of these and then save your changes, well, the way that you might get those back is come back here to AccuTrader Pro Setup, and then these that you might create on the setup will mimic those pre-saved layouts on there. And then the last thing I want to show, of course, is the ticker down here. What you have displayed, by default, that's going to show the Dow Jones. I think it's IXIC, the S&P 500, and that's kind of about it. We've actually added on here, we swapped out IXIC, the NASDAQ Composite, for the NASDAQ 100 NDX. We've added the Russell in here. There's an S&P equal weight, 10-year Treasury, VIX Volatility Index. You too can customize this as well. If you come here to ticker, view custom ticker list, edit custom ticker list. This can be where you can edit the ticker list to show whatever you'd like. Now, this does show it alphabetically down here, regardless of the order that you displayed it in. We can come here and we can say APL for Apple, MSFT for Microsoft. Hit apply. And now Apple and Microsoft. Now these showed at the end because the dot for the indexes show before stocks on here. But now Apple and Microsoft will then be alphabetical on here. If we don't want to see them, custom ticker list, edit custom ticker list, we can of course then delete these, and that will then delete them. You can customize this ticker list to then show, your positions if you want, individual or across all accounts, or you can have it show a watch list as opposed to that particular list. By default, it's going to show that. Now you can of course hide that. Come here to general settings, and then general. We can then hide the custom ticker list, show market ticker. But if you hide that, it's still going to have that bar at the bottom. It doesn't get rid of that bar at the bottom. So I do prefer to have that shown so I can see some quick symbols with that going across. Kelly, we'll actually be talking about options week 4 versus next week. We will talk about placing trades. And we can include placing some option trades next week as well. So let us know with that. That said, Troy, I know there's a couple questions that came in. I tried to touch on some of the different ones about the ticker symbols and such. 2 other big questions I want to touch on before I'll turn everything over to you. One is we had a bunch of questions that came in about, is this session being recorded? Well, it might show recording in the top left-hand corner. Unfortunately, we don't record these sessions and post them online. They're recorded simply for compliance purposes, much like if you call into Fidelity, phone call is recorded, so that my manager and Troy's manager can review these if need be. Help us make sure we're not saying or too much. Help us with their presentation skills and such. But we don't post these online on YouTube or on the website at all. We do have versions of these classes that have been recorded just for posting purposes. We didn't do them with a live audience. If you search in our Learning Center, you can find those particular sessions. Now, they're a lot shorter because we don't review homework assignment and such, but we do have those particular sessions online. Another question we got, I think is a great question, is talking about the difference between AccuTrader Pro, Fidelity.com, and so on. We get asked quite a bit about, well, will AccuTrader Pro ever be offered on our cell phone? And bluntly, no, it won't be. And that kind of comes into play on what AccuTrader Pro is for compared to what the website, compared to the mobile app. When it comes to your cell phone, it's a 4-inch screen. And you just imagine, we come here to settings, general. I've done this. How zoomed out this is. Now this is still, on my screen, this is still 12 inches across out of 24 inches and such on here. But can you imagine trying to read a quote box and start to get smaller and smaller? If there's only like a 1/2 inch by half, it can be impossible to really take advantage of something if you're on a 4-inch diagonal screen and such. It's impossible to see, impossible to make out. And so as such, AccuTrader Pro isn't ever going to be designed to work on a mobile device, to be able to work on your cell phone and such like that. Now, that said, what are the differences between AccuTrader Pro, Fidelity.com, and so forth? Well, AccuTrader Pro is designed for trading, to quickly place trades, monitor accounts, and so on, streaming information. It's technical analysis. That's what it's designed for, is to, if you're an active trader, it's designed for you, so to speak. It also works real well for, monitoring your positions, monitoring your accounts and such. But for example, I've been out on the golf course. I've set some price alerts. I get a ding on my cell phone that a security's crossed a certain price. I'll pull out my cell phone. I then use the mobile app to actually, check the underlying position, place the trade if I need to when I'm on the golf course. I'm not trying to, load up, AccuTrader Pro bootleg, anything like that. I use the mobile app. It's designed for on-the-go situations on that particular size. You can, of course, access the website from your mobile app, and it will scale everything down as well. I'll do that as well, especially if I'm trying to place option trades. I actually place option trades from Fidelity.com on my cell phone rather than logged into the application. Now, what about the differences between Fidelity.com and AccuTrader Pro? Well, if I'm doing technical analysis on an individual security, I'm doing it within AccuTrader Pro. If I'm doing fundamental analysis, if I'm digging through earnings reports, if I'm trying to figure out, do I like Microsoft or Apple better? Or what about NVIDIA? What about Tesla? Which of these, I can only invest in one of these 4 companies. Which do I like better? That I'm doing on the website. Because if you come up here to like news and research, and want to research stocks, notice this has this little box, this arrow. This means everything over here is going to pop up on the website. So a stock screener, an option screener, any of these particular tools, if I'm looking for ideas like this, I'm doing it on the website. That's where the website excels, is that fundamental analysis, screening for ideas, screening for securities. But once you've found those securities, you can export them to a watch list, and then those watch lists pull up an AccuTrader Pro, and then from here, I can do my digging technically to see, well, is now a good time to buy those securities that I already whittled down the idea for. So those are the big questions I want to touch on, Troy. I know we had quite a few things on that, quite a few things on the ticker list and such. Anything else that jumps out to you so far?
Well, we are 10 minutes over. Folks, we try to answer as many questions as we can. We got a lot that came in right towards the end. What I want to do is, as we're closing, again, thank you so much for joining us. We are just spending the next couple minutes just answering some of these kind of one-off questions. But what I will say in terms of for answering a lot of these different types of questions is make sure you take advantage of all the resources that are out there. Again, if you're on Fidelity.com, you can go to Accounts and Trade, AccuTrader Pro. You could do Fidelity.com/ATP. And if you click on some of these, different tiles here, it'll give you a lot of different information, not only about Active Trader Pro, but about a lot of the different trading resources. So, for example, Active Trader Pro is just one of the different ways you can trade. There's a thing called the trading dashboard. There's also the Chart Plus charting feature. There's Fidelity Mobile. You can also use the Fidelity website on your phone. So, and you can use the website on your desktop as well. So there's so many different ways to trade. And at the end of the day, we want you to get the most out of your experience here at Fidelity. So every person's going to be different. You're going to use the experience that is going to be best suited for your approach, your needs, your goals, and your outlook. And again, thank you so much for all the questions. Again, we don't have, again, the time to answer every single one-off question. So make sure you check out that area of the website. In addition, if you haven't already, go to News and Research, head down to where it says Learn, and check out some of these educational resources. If you go to events, you'll see some of our additional content. In addition to these classes, feel free to check out our market briefings, some of our one-off coaching sessions on a variety of other topics. And since you've completed week one, which is the setup and layout navigation of Active Trader Pro, perhaps you want to now go forward and take a look and join us for our subsequent weeks where we're going to look at, again, week two, we're going to talk about placing trades and monitoring orders. Week three, we'll talk about the advanced charting capabilities. Week four, we're going to talk about the option tools. So thanks so much for joining us this week. We hope to see you in the next coming weeks, same time, same place. It's going to be noon Eastern on a Thursday. So that'll be the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th, respectively. We have a lot of webinars coming up later today and throughout the week. So again, make sure you take a look at some of the events out there. We hope to see you again soon. Thanks, Nick, and thanks everyone for joining us. We'll catch you again soon.
One last thing we're asked about, do we have any kind of office hours? And actually we do. It's going to be on Thursday, June 20th at 10:30 in the morning. It's actually going to be the hour immediately prior to our June 20th class. It's our trading strategy desk office hours, kind of ask us anything. Any questions you have, either on Active Trader Pro, option trading, technical analysis, the website. Think of it like a college professor's door. It's open. We get all kinds of questions in that particular session. Come and ask us in that session. We typically have a couple of those a month. We were trying to average about one a week, but it really winds up about once every other week that we have one of those kind of ask us anything style questions. That's on June 20th is when that particular class is. It's probably underneath trading basics is what we have that session on. With that though, thank you for spending an hour, really an hour and 15 minutes of your afternoon with us. Hopefully you found this to be a good and valuable use of your time. And we definitely look forward to having everyone back with us next week. Take care, everyone.